Welcome back to the Perfect Season Podcast. It's a super amazing podcast. Talks about everything, all things sports related, and absolutely nothing to do with milk and cookies. My name is
Right.
joined today here with Anthony, going over what all has happened in Week 10.
Can we just start off? Let's start off with a bang. Start off with Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football was probably
What a show!
yes, and
Are the Commanders okay?
Hmm.
Are the Commanders for real?
The Commanders, I will not go out of my way to say that they're for real, but you have to acknowledge the fact that they are 5-10, or they're 5-5.
They're 500.
They're 500 right now in a franchise that, excuse me, I did not predict to be at 500 at the end of the season. They're in a really good place.
They could possibly make the wild card.
The thing is as of right now, I think they have that 7th seed. If not, they're a half game back. I think as of right now, the wild card picture of the NFC is the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Commanders, with the Eagles still in first place.
Eagles take the division. Like I said,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, after Washington beating Philadelphia,
imagine a whole NFC East playoffs.
The thing is that the East divisions of the NFL are looking strong because it's the exact same thing with the AFC as well. The Dolphins are second in the AFC, and then you have the Bills.
No, the Dolphins are in first place.
Dolphins are currently in first at 7-3.
Fins up.
Buffalo is 5th. Jets are 6th. Patriots are 7th. If they're not 7th, they're right outside in 8th. But still, I mean, it's the same picture. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two divisions has every single team in the playoffs this year. With how those two divisions have been performing in reference to the rest of the conference. Because remember, at the beginning of the season, we said that this was going to happen with the AFC West.
Yeah, look at that.
And look at what's happened. You have the Broncos that are floundering around. They can't get anything figured out.
Broncos country, let's die.
The Raiders that are just as bad, if not slightly worse. You have the Chargers.
They should have won against the Colts.
They should have. You're right. They should have.
Keyword.
And then you have the Chargers who, despite are a good team, they are heavily battling injuries. And then just like always, you have the Chiefs in first place right now. I mean, what
else is new?
Exactly. And then here's the thing, though. You say Philadelphia. Do you still think Philadelphia is a favorite to go to the Super Bowl?
Well, who else are you comparing in the NFC?
The Vikings.
Because obviously the South is in shambles.
The South is dead. I mean, the Bucks.
South is in shambles, obviously, but the Bucks are 500.
The Bucks will most likely win the division, but they're probably going to get the 4th seed in the playoffs.
Sad.
I mean, it's just what it's looking like. But I mean, you're right. The South is destroyed. The North is being dominated by the Vikings. The West is who's in first place right now? I think it's still the Seahawks that are still in first, with the 49ers close behind.
I mean, if you want to talk about the North, who would have thought the Lions win back-to-back games?
I never would have thought that the Lions were going to win back-to-back games and be 3rd place in the NFC North right now. What
is it?
They're 3-6. It's the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, the Bears,
and Tigers. Oh my!
Oh,
Lions.
Lions. Yeah. Okay, that took me a second. But here's the thing, Anthony. Remember, I want to say it was last year. Around this point, what other team was undefeated?
Buffalo?
No, not Buffalo.
Pittsburgh?
No, that was 2020.
I don't know who.
The Cardinals.
Oh yeah,
remember the Cardinals were 8-0 or 7-0. They're one of the two, and then they lost to the Packers. And then the rest of their season just hit. It took a bad turn. They still made it to the playoffs. They still made it to the divisional game, and then they lost.
Yeah.
Yes, because they beat the Cowboys in the wild card. And
hey, that's. I'm also the only one to say the Packers won.
Packers won. Yeah, you're the only one to say. But you want to know something else? If you want to do that, who was the only one to say that Indianapolis was going to win?
You.
This guy. Yeah. So.
I mean, it's the Raiders. What do you expect?
Exactly. But here's the implications that I have for Philadelphia. Is Philadelphia going to take a Arizona Cardinals like run that they had last year?
I was looking at something though in the playoffs. if the standings stayed how they were today, the Bucks would play. I think they'd play the Cowboys.
They play the Cowboys at Tampa
The
Bay.
and then the Eagles would play not
The
the Niners,
Commanders. They
the
would play the
Commanders.
Commanders.
So they would win that, and then the Niners would play the Seahawks.
The Niners, no, it would be
No, they're not.
the Seahawks. The Seahawks are currently third. The Seahawks would play. They're third. They would play sixth place. The Seahawks would
But
play
what I
the
was saying-
Giants.
But they would play the Giants.
Yeah, because
And then hypothetically,
hypothetically,
we're saying the Bucks win, the Seahawks win.
Hmm.
I'm so hypothetically,
okay, we can
Seattle would come to Tampa,
Uh-huh.
and then hypothetically, Philly wins and San Francisco wins. They play each other. Colin Coward is predicting the Niners to beat the Eagles because the Niners have the experience.
But yeah, they have the experience. The issue right now with the Niners is they don't have the record. And Anthony, here's the thing though: if the NFC race closed right now, the Niners would not be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they would not be in the playoffs.
No,
I
will
take
argue.
that back. I think they would be in the playoffs. I think they would have the 7.
I will argue, Jimmy Garoppolo saved their season.
Well, I mean, yeah, you bring in a guy that knows the system, that's done well in the system, takes them to the playoffs multiple times. I wouldn't say he saved it, but he kind of like let it float on by for a little bit longer. You won.
I still would have never started Trey Lance that early.
And you know what? Unfortunately, we're not really going to know that answer until next year because we didn't give Trey Lance did not have a large enough sample size in order to prove what he could and could not do.
Because he played in a monsoon game in Chicago.
Exactly, and then he got injured.
Now, if you argue that game was not monsoon weather, and hypothetically it was a dry game,
yeah,
Trey Lance could have had a good game.
Trey Lance would have won. They would have beat Chicago. I would have said that. But okay, so
as you roll your eyes,
was drinking. Okay, Thursday night football. We had the Carolina Panthers against the Atlanta Falcons. Carolina beats Atlanta in the rain, 25-15.
I didn't even watch that game.
I did because I thought it would be interesting. And
Torn watched it.
I bet he did.
He's sad.
I don't blame him. I mean,
here's my thing about Atlanta. When do you start? Do you say you're beating a team really badly, like 35-10? Do you keep Mariota in, or do you put Ritter in and see what he does? So if
the Falcons are on the winning side,
yes and no.
I would put him in late in the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying.
By that much, yes. But
I would say, I want to see Ritter's play at least one game this year.
I don't think that's going to happen because here's the thing: is even though Marcus Mariota is not putting up superstar numbers, at the end of the day, he's still able to win games. He's still able to make them games closer. You know, I mean, what are the Falcons right now? They're 4-6 right now,
something like that.
4-6, and the thing
is second place.
Exactly, but if they would have beat the Panthers, they would have made the South a little bit more competitive. Now, with that being said, are the Panthers going to come out of nowhere and win the division? Absolutely not. Are the Saints going to come out of nowhere and win the division?
Saints are terrible.
Absolutely not. But
Saints are terrible.
As crazy as it sounds, Atlanta has done better than what people have originally thought they would. Now, do I think that they're going to somehow come from behind and be able to take away the division away from Tampa Bay?
No.
Probably not. But if there's going to be one team in the South that's going to do that, it's going to be the Falcons.
Yeah.
But
they're the only team that gives Tampa a shot for their money.
Exactly. But the thing is that with both team seasons are shot. And I don't want to say shot because they're both in the water, and the South is such a weak division that technically any team could still win it.
Yeah.
Aside from that, Tampa Bay in Germany beating Seattle.
I was sadly scanning groceries,
and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was very surprised by Tampa Bay's performance. And I want to give credit to the offense looked more lively than what they have been, but the defense was able to step up and was able to mute the Seattle offense.
Yeah,
Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all those guys, and Kenneth Walker as well. They were only able to put up 16 points off an offense that is arguably a top 5 offense in the league right now.
Yeah,
which is crazy to say.
And I mean, I just saw a report that came out this week, like literally just now on Instagram. They're predicting Buffalo and Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland goes to Buffalo, a snow game.
That could be interesting. I mean, it's only
That
the
would
middle.
be interesting because
It's the middle of November.
winter games and snow games make games interesting, like how Florida has rainy games.
Well, you have Florida in the early season is always hot, and then same thing in.
I mean, you can argue, if we're getting technical with this, you can argue cold weather games compared to Florida, how we have the heat and the sun from hell, basically.
Yeah.
You can argue hot weather games.
I mean, you can.
What would you rather play in? What would you rather play in?
Personally,
a cold weather game.
It depends. It depends on if I'm on a Florida team or not. Am I the away team in both of these situations?
If
I'm the away team,
you're the away team in one of the situations, home team in the other.
Okay. If I had to pick one, I'd rather be the home team in hot weather games and the away team in cold weather games.
I would say that.
And the only reason why I would say that is because of how well the Florida teams take advantage of the heat, like Miami, that they put the away team directly in the sunlight.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to get on that point.
Yeah, but then again, Miami's going to go up to Buffalo in a couple, in maybe about a month, and play the second meeting, and it's probably going to be a snow game, and we're going to really see how well the weather affects both teams.
But and that's when Tua takes his first loss.
Most likely.
I mean, it could be a good game. Could be a good game.
I hope so.
I hope both teams have fun.
But speaking of Buffalo, do we want to talk about potentially the game of the year?
Oh my God!
Minnesota Buffalo.
What a game!
A game that was put away.
Let me get your opinion.
What
was that a catch?
Was what a catch? The Gabe Davis catch? No, it wasn't a catch. It hit the ground. That was not a catch.
If it was a catch, that would have been a good catch.
I mean, they counted it as a catch, yes.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think they would say it is a catch because he had possession of it inbounds.
But the thing is that you have to have full control, which he did not have full control. But
and the thing is that I know you were screaming at your TV watching that game.
Nah, not really. I mean, luckily it was a big game, but it wasn't a huge game that I really cared about as much. Obviously, I wanted the Vikings to win because it's against Buffalo, and Buffalo was not anymore. But the thing is this: Buffalo choked, and this isn't the first time that they've done that. The Buffalo offense is really missing Brian Dable. They're missing Dable more than I thought they would be missing him. Because here's the thing: Buffalo has lost 3 times.
Yeah,
they've lost to the Jets, they've lost to the Dolphins,
sadly,
and I can't believe they lost to the Jets. But they lost to the Jets.
I mean, it's the Jets. What do you expect?
You can't expect anything. And there
crazier things have happened.
Exactly. They lost to the Vikings. They lost to the Dolphins in week 3. They lost to the Jets, and now they lost to the Vikings. What has been the issue in each of those 3 games?
Look at Josh Allen though. He played through his injury.
But here's the thing. It may not have been as serious of an injury because he played.
Yeah.
And it may have
everyone overreacts to this, that, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
But here's the thing: you could make an excuse for Josh Allen's throwing arm being messed up. But here's the thing: this is the 3rd time that this has happened where the Buffalo offense has been completely obsolete in the second half of the game. Each of their 3 losses, they have lost because they do not score in the second half.
Just like Philly in the first half of the season.
Exactly, but the thing is that Philly was able to destroy teams far enough that they didn't need to worry about scoring in the second half.
Yeah,
Buffalo is a good team all around, but like I said, in each of those 3 games, they have not scored anything. At one point going into the second half, I think the score was 27-10 going into halftime, or 27-17 at one point going into the 4th quarter. Minnesota was able to.
Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo was winning. Yeah, Buffalo's on the winning side of that, and they choked it to the Minnesota because they had the ball. Minnesota had the ball. And then they got stopped, and then Buffalo fumbles the ball, resulting in a touchdown for the Minnesota defense. I mean,
because I got out of the shower and the 4th quarter was still on, and I saw Buffalo, and you texted me saying Buffalo fumbled the ball.
Yeah, Buffalo fumbled, and that was insane. I never in a million years would have thought that Buffalo would have lost because they fumbled the ball in the touchdown, bringing it to overtime. And if you're a Bills fan, you do not want to hear the words overtime and coin flip in a single sentence.
Right. I mean, you don't want to hear that, or you just don't want to see. You don't want to see Buffalo be like, oh, overtime. Josh Allen makes mistakes,
The thing
and
is that
he shouldn't.
he should
He
not.
shouldn't.
Josh Allen, and this is an analysis that I've seen from Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a great quarterback. He's one of the best in the league right now. There's no denying
Yeah.
that. But
There's always the but.
when it comes to Josh Allen, and you notice it, he repeatedly trying to throw the ball to Gabe Davis in double coverage, trying to go for the home run.
He's just using him as a safety blanket.
Exactly, but the thing is that he's overextending it because you're trying to throw into double coverage when you had Devin Singletary 6 yards off the line of scrimmage that would have been able to pick up an extra 6-7 yards to move the chains. But he
Yeah.
repeatedly tried to hit the home run instead of going for a ground ball leading for a one base hit.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that you're really not understanding what's happening with Buffalo. However, they're still the second best team in the AFC in my opinion. They're still the best team in the East. Are they going to win the division? I can
Probably.
pretty much guarantee that they're going to win the division. It's just the speed of what they're doing now is surprising because they're 6-3, and at this point in the season, I think I projected them to be at 8-1, if not 7-2.
Yeah.
Now, aside from that game, we have Detroit, Chicago, which is another interesting game.
Detroit, Chicago was, yeah.
Yeah, because you had at one point Chicago winning by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And then Cairo Santos mixed point after attempt, leading to Detroit being able to march the ball down the field, score a touchdown, beating the Giants by the Bears by 1 point.
It's great. I mean, Giants are back-to-back wins, though.
What? The Lions.
Giants have not
Lions.
Giants. Oh my,
Lions.
I can't speak.
The Lions are back-to-back, yes. The Lions were at 2 weeks ago, heading into Sunday. The Lions were 1-6. Now they're 3-6.
Yeah.
Will they make the playoffs? Absolutely not.
No, but they could put on a little run.
But they're proving that they can win games. And I think that's enough to make sure that Dan Campbell stays around for one more year.
I like Dan Campbell.
And I like Dan Campbell. I mean, he was the Miami interim head coach in 2015. I love the guy. I'm excited that he's finally able to win with Detroit. But aside from that, now you go into the Cleveland-Miami game. And Cleveland scored on their first drive 7-0. Miami responded back. Final score was 39-17. 39 points.
Miami's looking good.
Miami has really pulled their offense together. Now, many can attribute that to getting Tyreek Hill, to really hammering it home with Jalen Waddle, in last year's draft. Oh, the upgraded offensive line. All are great points. I agree with all of them. I think everything is working perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, Tua is just having the season of his life right now.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I personally would not be surprised if Tua, if he keeps up this performance, wins MVP. I mean, in the last 3 games, okay, just hear me out. In the last 3 games, he has gotten 8 touchdown passes and I think he's hit 900 yards passing.
Yeah.
900 plus yards passing in 3 games. And despite that, every single game that he started and finished, the key word is finished there, 207-0.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Torn texted me. Sorry about that. But
Tua is 7-0.
He was a good quarterback. And
exactly.
If he didn't have the hit where he almost died.
Uh-huh.
The hit where he almost died. And the other hit where he almost died.
Yeah. Well, the first hit that happened, we still were able to beat the Bills despite Tua hobbling around. The second was just a dirty hit by Samuel Osai of the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals.
The Bengals. But aside from that, I mean, every single game that Tua has started and finished, he's 7-0.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the grass, every game that he started so far this season, he's 7-1. But are you really going to count the game where he went to the hospital halfway through the game?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell.
I'm just agreeing with your opinion.
I know, but I'm just saying it's hard to really try and make a line out of that. Next game, we had Tennessee-Denver, not Dallas, Denver. Honestly, probably one of the most disappointing games of the week. Really thought Denver was going to be rolling, especially after coming out of their bye week in week 9 and beating Jacksonville week 8 in London. I really thought that Denver was going to have it in them to win, and they didn't. Derrick Henry's doing just fine.
Denver's terrible.
Denver's horrible. And then you look at that the Titans actually had a pass game this game, believe it or not. Tannehill actually had 2 passing touchdowns to Nick Westbrook Ikine, which is absolutely insane to hear from Tennessee, despite that they are mostly
one passing touchdown.
No, that they had a pass that they actually had a game where they threw for more than 150 yards.
Yeah,
because they are a run-heavy team because of Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Denver, I mean, he's in contract here, though.
I guess he is. And Tennessee is going to be very desperate to sign him back because he is the only thing moving that offense.
I mean, I think he signs elsewhere, in my opinion.
It'd be smart for him to sign elsewhere, but I don't think Tennessee is not going to offer him the big money. I really think Tennessee is going to make him the highest paid running back, and by a long shot, too. A very big long shot. I mean, there's nothing really else to say about Denver. I mean, they took a huge hit.
Denver's just terrible.
They lost Jerry Jeudy early in the game, and it doesn't look like he's going to be returning anytime soon. There's not much on that offense that's really making it wow. I mean, the defense is fine. The defense is perfectly fine. And you want to know an interesting stat line that I saw?
I would love to know an interesting stat line, Alex.
If the Denver Broncos scored at least 18 points,
I saw that.
They would be
Drew
8-1.
Wasn't it about Drew Lock or something?
It's just that if the Denver Broncos scored at least 18 points, if the Denver Broncos scored 18 points each game for the previous, not for the first 9 games, they'd be 8-1 right now.
Imagine 8-1 Denver. People will be going in shambles.
People will be going insane. But here's the thing: that credits that really hypes up the Denver defense for being amazing at the point that they're only needing.
Who does Denver have on defense though? That's good.
Patrick Surtain II.
Well, besides him.
Well, they don't have Bradley Chubb anymore. I can tell you that.
Yeah, he's Dolphin.
Yeah, but the thing is that even then, like, I can only think of Patrick Surtain II. But it also just goes to show you that despite us not really knowing anybody on defense, they're able to hold their opponents enough that the offense only has to score 18 points, which is insane.
Yeah.
Let's see. Giants at Houston, not really much to go.
Giants are a playoff team.
Giants most likely will be making the playoffs. Kansas City beating Jacksonville 27-17. Jacksonville had an interesting onside kick on the first play of the game, however. Anything's a little interesting. Juju got hit.
But they onside kicked first play of the game?
Jacksonville had the kickoff. They pulled an onside kick on the first play of the game, and they recovered it. And what they do, and you know what they did with that
score a touchdown?
No, they did nothing. They punted the ball away.
Yeah,
and then Kansas City scored. So Jacksonville is just I really want them to do something. I really do. It's a young team.
They have a bright future ahead of them.
They have the issue is that there's on paper they're a good team, but when you see them play, it's just a lackluster performance every single week.
Get some more key pieces. Protect Trevor.
There's not many more key pieces you need to do. I mean, they added a lot of key pieces in the offseason, and I mean, it's enough.
Now, I mean, you also have suspended Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that they traded for that won't be useful until next year. But with all the key signings that they made over the offseason, that's only good enough for 3 wins.
Who else do they have on their schedule?
Well, I mean, they're in bye this week, so
good bye, regroup.
Yeah, but the best that they could do is finish 10-7, and the thing is that with how competitive the rest of the AFC is, 10 wins may not even win you a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, New Orleans. Pittsburgh getting the win.
Are we surprised that Pittsburgh won?
I'm surprised that Pittsburgh won.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I'm surprised New Orleans only put up 10 points.
Yeah, I really thought that they would have had a better performance. I mean, the score was 20-10. And the thing is that, I mean, the New Orleans offense is really losing a lot of key pieces. I mean, when Alvin Kamara is muted for a game, when he's restricted, I mean, there's not much that offense can do. There's only
what do you mean restricted?
Like when he doesn't get the ball enough, when the defense is just like really like holding on to him strong that he can't run anywhere.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to give a credit to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's defense really stepped up big in that game. But
Pittsburgh beating teams they should have lost to.
Yeah. Indianapolis beating the Raiders.
Don't even get me started, but we have to talk about it.
We have to talk.
Fire McDaniels.
Yeah. And did you see the quote that Devontae Adams had?
Yeah. No, I didn't see what Devontae said.
Devontae said that because you saw the whole thing. Derek Carr was crying,
Yeah.
and you feel bad for the guy because you want
They
him
have to be
win.
better.
You have to exactly. But the thing is that
Here's my thing: if Derek Carr, here's a hypothetical. How would you feel about this? It plays into the Bucks also. Brady retires. Derek Carr signs elsewhere this year. This after this season. Derek Carr to Tampa.
I don't see it. I mean, Derek Carr is a good veteran quarterback, but the thing is,
you have Kyle Trask,
but you're not going to trust Trask.
Trask is still. I give Trask one more preseason and then see what he can do.
The thing is,
but you also, I just see the quarterback for the Bucks being not on this team next year.
I mean,
he's somewhere else. So we're going to sign him in free agency.
I think that's a given. Trask. But the issue is this: Tampa Bay went from a win now situation that they were in the past 2 years to being 5-5 right now.
Yeah,
and it's more than just quarterback play because you have Tom Brady. Tom Brady, even though he's had a very slow season, he's been kind of coming back a little bit in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. He's 2-0 since the divorce.
Well, I'm glad that his mind is kind of getting off of that. But the issue that I have with Tampa Bay is there's more issues than just quarterback right now on that team.
Hear me out.
But I would also
forget. You also forget the fact.
It's the fact that
you also forget the fact of the Bucks that Ryan Jensen is hurt. Jensen is hurt with center. If Jensen was in, we wouldn't have had 5 losses, in my opinion.
Anthony, I'm not going to lie to you, dude. You really think that one center is going to be the difference between you guys winning 1 or 2 games?
Jensen is a key piece, though, in the offense.
Which is fair, and that's honestly, that makes sense. I completely agree. I mean, when you lose a key piece, your team's going to suffer. But do you really think that the loss of Ryan Jensen
Julio scored his first touchdown
as a Buck? Yes.
Woo!
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you really think that losing Ryan Jensen is the reason why the Bucks are 5-5?
Yes and no. But
do you think? Okay, let me put it this way.
Jensen held the offensive line together.
Let me put it this way.
He held it together, but some of the other things about this team, I think, it wasn't all Brady's fault. The whole defense has to step up sometimes.
Yeah, and they did this week, which was proof that they can do it. But back to the whole Devontae Adams thing. He basically said that it is a horrible excuse to say that throwing the ball up to Devontae Adams in double coverage is a good idea because you forcing the ball to Devontae because you have Hunter Renfrow.
The Raiders are too predictable.
Exactly,
they're too predictable because everyone's going to expect throw the ball to Devontae.
And you know what, Anthony, as bad as it sounds, with what the Raiders have done this week alone, putting Renfrow on IR, putting Waller on IR.
But you have, yes, I know you have your 2 cents about Mac Hollins. I saw what he did in the preseason. I've seen what he's done in a couple of games. At the Jags game, man was wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
Yeah.
But Derek Carr is using Devontae as a safety blanket.
Because it's Devontae Adams. I mean, you can't blame that, but at the exact same time,
I know, but it's too predictable.
You can't rely.
Too predictable.
I agree.
You can't rely
on Devontae Adams the entire time.
You can't always.
And unfortunately,
you're not going to see this, but you can't rely on Devontae the whole time.
Which is fair.
It's like watching the Bucks, and when the Bucks would have Evans, Godwin, Julio, everyone would double team Mike Evans.
Yeah, and you know what? It clamped down the defense. It clamped down the offense. But the thing is this: with Devontae Adams being clamped, that should force Derek Carr to throw to somebody else. So Derek Carr throwing it into double coverage, you can't blame Josh McDaniels for that level of football.
No, but you also got to blame McDaniels for some of the play calling.
Well, I would completely agree to that because the Raiders are, what are they? 2-7?
2-7.
2-7. I mean, here's the thing.
Here's my thing about the Raiders.
You blame McDaniels for the majority of the issues, but when it comes down to when the ball is snapped, that is all Derek Carr.
And the offense, Derek Carr's running for his life, though. He's running for his life because they have no offensive line. They
Well, that's
gutted
and
that
you know
offensive
what?
line.
Then
And you
then
know a
then throw the
crazy
ball
stat,
short.
you know a crazy quote I saw
What?
before the game? It said Mike Mayock quoted from somewhere, and the Colts owner saw it. He said Mike Mayock doesn't know what he's doing.
And he doesn't.
He doesn't. He should have never been the general manager.
Because you hired Josh McDaniels, you think your offense is saved because
And
now you have Devontae
Josh
Adams, and now
McDaniels was
you've lost your wide receiver 2, you've lost your tight end 1, and now the Raiders' only hope of winning games is to force the ball to Devontae Adams when they could run the ball with Josh Jacobs. They could throw the ball to Josh Jacobs. They have Matt Collins that they're not utilizing at all. The
they
Raiders'
need to
offense,
utilize Matt Collins.
exactly. The Raiders' offense is being stopped on all sides of the ball. And what can the defense do? Nothing. The Raiders' defense is one of the worst defenses in the league right now. The Raiders are in a golden opportunity to lose the rest of the season.
And get the number 2 pick.
Yes, but after Houston.
Either 2 or 3.
Probably.
And hear me out. If the Raiders get the 3rd pick or the 2nd pick.
Well, we can go over that in a draft.
No, but
because here's the thing.
If Derek Carr walks,
then you get a quarterback.
I mean, who do you take? If they get the 3 pick,
you take whoever is left on that board.
It's either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think Stroud goes 1 because it's Ohio State. Then Bryce Young. Will Levis is falling off the face of the earth.
Also, CJ Stroud is a really good quarterback. But besides that, we had
Arizona. I will argue about this another day.
We had Arizona at the Rams. So they had the battle of the backup quarterbacks, and
actually. It was a good game.
It was a decent game, and it proved that Colt McCoy is still a really good backup quarterback. And when needed to start, he could win games. Yeah. Then again, you also have the Rams.
Colt McCoy.
Because it's Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy's been a starter, and he could win games. On the Rams side, you had John Walford, who has been an okay backup. Not really anything special. And Cooper Kupp going into almost a season ending.
And now I have to bench him on fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, you have no choice now.
Now I had to re-pick up Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad pickup. He's an underrated wide receiver.
Yes. But here's the thing. If you're a Rams fan now, if you didn't think that the season was over already, congratulations. Your season is over.
You're screwed.
With Cooper Kupp out,
who else do you don't have anyone else.
You don't use Allen Robinson, Ben Skoranek.
You don't use Cam Akers.
Cam Akers doesn't really want to play there anymore, nor does the Rams offense want to utilize him. The Rams offense is now one of the worst offenses in the league right now with the loss of Cooper Kupp for the rest of the season.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that?
And Odell is projected to sign either with the Cowboys or the Giants.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If I was Odell, I would not want to be on the Rams right now. I would pick the Cowboys or I would pick the Giants.
I think Odell goes back to New York.
It'd be nice to see that. It would be kind of
a little reunion. Give Daniel Jones his wide receiver 1 back.
Be interesting. Green Bay upsetting Dallas in the 4th quarter.
Go Cheeseheads.
Mike McCarthy finally finding ways to let Dallas for trying to find the Packers to win games, even though he's not their head coach anymore.
It was funny because I was at Publix on Sunday working. I was talking to a Cowboys fan, and I'm like, my one upset this week, the Packers upset the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's not going to happen. Cowboys by 3 touchdowns. I wonder where he is now.
The Cowboys were winning 28-14 going into the 4th
and then they're
quarter.
The new Atlanta Falcons.
I wouldn't go that far. You lose one game, you lose one game.
You know who the new Atlanta Falcons are?
Who?
The Raiders.
Yeah.
It was so Jacksonville, that game.
That was
we got blanked in the second half.
Yeah. And then, well, that's not the first game. You guys have been blanked in the second half.
You know what I mean.
And now, I mean, we already talked about the Philly game, so we're not really going to go through that anymore. But we had the Sunday night game. We had the 49ers against the Chargers.
Once again, I did not watch that.
I'm not going to lie to you. You didn't miss anything. I mean, the 49ers were able to win
the game. Niners. What do you expect?
The Niners won the game in a fashion that you really didn't expect. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at it like this, the Chargers are missing wide receiver 1, Keenan Allen, wide receiver 2, Mike Williams. Wide receiver 3 and 4 have to step up, and that's Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter.
Who?
I mean, they're both good players, but not wide receiver 1s and 2s. You have Gerald Everett, Donald Parham as their tight end 1 and 2, and you have Austin Eckler. And they did not
utilize, they need
to utilize them at all. Huh?
They need to utilize them.
That's exactly what they did not do that entire game. They did not utilize
Just
them.
like how the Bucks need to utilize Cameron Brate more.
I'd utilize Kate Otten more. That's just my opinion.
I know. Don't get me wrong, Kate Otten. I like what I've seen so far. But when the Bucks had OJ, we did not need OJ.
No, you didn't. And I guess with
I
that
mean,
being
I
said,
like Cam Brate. Cam Brate's always been one of those low-level tight ends. Comes in clutch when you need it.
the issues I don't really want to. I wouldn't trust Cameron Brate. You got Kate Otten. I trust Otten. Brady likes him. Keep Otten. I wouldn't really worry about Cameron Brate. But with all that being said, I think that'll be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment. Subscribe.
You know the gist.
You know the whole gist. Let us
A
know what
comment
your
saves a life.
Sure. Yeah. Let us know what you thought about this past week. Anything that you thought was surprising, anything that you thought was interesting, anything that you thought was crazy. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon.